Something terrifying is brewing inside the walls of Westminster, and it's sending shockwaves through every corner of British politics, because Keir Starmer is now standing dangerously close to the edge as Labour's internal civil war explodes once again in the most brutal and public way imaginable. Yes, you heard that right. Another furious backbench rebellion is being plotted right now, right under Starmer's nose. And insiders are warning that this one could spark a catastrophic meltdown unlike anything Labour has faced before in decades. This isn't just some quiet grumbling. This is an open revolt with furious Labour MPs sharpening their knives and preparing for a brutal showdown that could shatter Starmer's already fragile grip on power. What triggered this political earthquake? Well, it's Labour's controversial stance on education and welfare. Again, specifically the party's alarming plans around special needs children and the future of disabled children's protections in schools. The fury erupted after Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson's recent interview, where she danced around the legal protections for SEND children, refusing to guarantee whether families would retain their legal rights to secure critical support for their vulnerable children. This chilling ambiguity sent alarm bells ringing across Parliament and within Labour itself, because it instantly sparked memories of Labour's previous welfare scandal, when Starmer's party outrageously stripped away protections for disabled adults in a disgraceful attempt to cut costs. Now, furious MPs are warning that Labour risks repeating the same catastrophic mistake, but this time targeting disabled children. Families are terrified, campaigners are livid, and backbench MPs are preparing for full-blown rebellion. One senior Labour MP even warned publicly that if Starmer pushes through with this heartless move, he'll face a backlash that could rip the party apart entirely. The MP bluntly declared if they thought the fallout from taking money away from disabled adults was bad, just wait until they try it with disabled children, because the public reaction will be ferocious and the political cost will be unbearable. But here's the twist. This isn't just about education. This rebellion is about much more. It's about the growing sense among Labour's own MPs that Starmer's leadership is collapsing into a cold, heartless numbers game where cost-cutting trumps compassion and political survival is more important than protecting vulnerable families. It's about betrayal. The betrayal of the very people Labour promised to defend during their campaign. Labour's legal reforms now risk dismantling key protections that thousands of families rely on, and this isn't speculation. Reports from The Times confirm that dozens of Labour MPs already plotting to vote against Starmer if he dares move forward with this reckless plan. The scale of the revolt is growing fast, and Labour insiders fear it could now ball into a full-scale mutiny that leaves Starmer powerless at the very start of his premiership. Imagine the sheer chaos of Labour MPs turning on their own leader in Parliament, Hope Henley rebelling against these policies and triggering a meltdown just weeks after Labour took power. This crisis couldn't come at a worse time, with Starmer desperate to project stability to the public after the disastrous Tory years. But instead of unity, Labour is sinking deeper into crisis, with backbenchers warning that Starmer's obsession with slashing budgets could shatter public trust permanently, adding even more fuel to the fire. Phillipson's remarks also reignited fury over the wider education crisis and the growing fears that Labour is quietly preparing to dismantle the current Education, Health and Care Plan system, or EHCP, which gives legal rights to children with special educational needs and disabilities. Critics say that while the EHCP system has flaws, it remains the only thing holding councils and schools accountable, and removing it could throw thousands of vulnerable children into chaos and neglect, as desperate parents would be left powerless to secure the care their children desperately need. Labour's refusal to guarantee these is seen as a giant red flag, suggesting they're preparing to push through reforms driven by cold cost-cutting rather than genuine care. And as this political rebellion brews louder, the media is now circling around the story, knowing it could explode into a national scandal at any moment. Labour MPs have reportedly warned Starmer privately that he's walking into a disaster with this policy, but many are preparing to go public if he refuses to listen. And in the background, fears are growing that Starmer's government is already spiraling out of control, with pointing out the disturbing pattern emerging: first the welfare scandal, then the education crisis. What's next? Another ruthless betrayal targeting vulnerable groups, all to save cash while risking political collapse. This revolt is gaining momentum fast, and with Parliament returning soon, Starmer's enemies within his own party are sharpening their knives and preparing to strike. This isn't just a policy disagreement. This is an existential battle for Labour's soul, and if Starmer loses, it could trigger the most dramatic political meltdown in recent memory, tearing his leadership apart before it's even begun and leaving Labour in chaos once again.